Let's jump right into this fascinating explainer. Today, we're unpacking the incredibly intriguing story of Semyon Arkadyevich. Now, Semyon is your perfectly ordinary 53-year-old retired official, living in the profoundly unremarkable provincial Russian town of Bolshino. For 22 years, his life is, well, totally mundane. We're talking polite tea parties, predictable daily walks, just the usual quiet routines. But then, everything completely transforms. How? By reading exactly 147 detective novels. Out of nowhere, he's convinced that absolutely nothing in his sleepy little town is quite what it seems.
Semyon adopts this thrilling, almost dangerous new philosophy. The world is infinitely more criminal than it appeared. He actually hits this sudden epiphany around page 92 of his very first mystery novel. You see, the fictional detective in that book noticed a seemingly insignificant little speck of river clay on a suspect's shoe, and boom, unraveled a massive, deadly conspiracy. From that exact moment on, Semyon is totally convinced that his boring provincial town is secretly a hotbed of crime, just waiting to be cracked wide open by someone who's finally paying attention.
Section 1. The Detective's Imagination. Let's look at how Semyon's new obsession builds into this brilliant meta-narrative that completely deconstructs the classic whodunit genre we all know and love.
This contrast right here is absolutely crucial. On one hand, we've got the satisfying logic of paperback fiction, right? Neat clues, brilliant deductions, and moral justice served up perfectly. But on the other hand, we have the chaotic, corrupt reality of provincial politics in Bolshino. Rampant town gossip, messy realities, and highly ambiguous endings. It's a trap we all kind of fall into, expecting real life to act like a giant puzzle with a clean solution, when reality is just far messier. Semyon is about to crash headfirst into the realization that real-life mysteries rarely follow the comfortable rules of a paperback.
Okay, Section 2, Gathering the Clues. So how does a retired official actually go about investigating his own neighbors? Let's take a look at Semyon's makeshift investigation and his big inciting incident. Just like a fictional sleuth, Semyon builds himself a mental conspiracy board. First, he spots a wine stain on his neighbor Alexander Ivanovich's waistcoat, which Semyon immediately decides is covering up a physical struggle. Naturally. Then, Alexander mysteriously falls down his cellar stairs. And around the exact same time, the local postmaster arranges these sudden new postal routes completely out of the blue. Now, to a normal person, these are just random, unfortunate bureaucratic events. But to Semyon, oh no, they are the undeniable threads of a grand, interconnected conspiracy just waiting to be pulled.
Semyon meticulously drafts a list of wild theories. Could it be a smuggling ring using the new postal routes, an embezzlement scheme, or maybe an illegitimate child hidden away? But what you should really take away from this is step 4, simple personal misfortune. Semyon intentionally, completely dismisses this perfectly logical explanation. Why? Well, because in detective novels, ordinary life is always just a clever cover for something deeply sinister. There's just no way it's a simple accident, right?
Section 3. A Provincial Conspiracy. Here is where the story truly shifts gears, because Semyon's completely fictional musings accidentally collide with stark reality when he spots a genuine scandal brewing in the regional newspapers.
Piece by piece, hanging out at the local library, Semyon maps out this chilling timeline. On July 15th, new regional railway contracts are announced. By August 10th, an official investigation into bid rigging is quietly opened up. 5 days later, the postmaster changes the routes. And then, August 20th, Alexander violently falls down the stairs. Mapping this out suddenly validates Semyon's wildest suspicions. The cellar fall wasn't a clumsy accident at all. It was a targeted attack tied directly to a corrupt railway bid rigging scheme.
Through relentless observation of his neighbor's household, Semyon practically screams this into his notebook. Yekaterina Petrovna is protecting something. He notices how Alexander's wife is fiercely, almost desperately guarding her husband. And then it finally dawns on him. His neighbor Alexander isn't some criminal mastermind pulling the strings. No, he's a terrified victim. He's being actively extorted by powerful contractors to artificially inflate his prices, and he was violently pushed down those stairs as a brutal warning to play ball. Section 4. The Dangerous Truth. The really amazing point here is that our amateur detective actually figures the whole thing out. He successfully identifies the real villain, Alexei Vladimirovich Lavrov, a corrupt railway rep who traveled into town just to terrorize Alexander in that dark cellar. But as we know, knowing the truth isn't enough.
In the books, you need undeniable proof to trigger the big climax. This absolute necessity pushes Semyon to carefully shadow Lavrov to the local railway station on a bitter, snowy December afternoon. The air is freezing, the tension is just palpable, and Semyon is absolutely desperate to find the concrete evidence that'll tie this messy, real-life mystery into a neat, satisfying bow.
And then, the universe literally seems to hand him a miracle. Out of nowhere, a street urchin running blindly through the crowded station expertly knocks Lavrov's heavy leather briefcase straight onto the floor.
The briefcase bursts wide open. Private documents, ledgers, sensitive papers, they just scatter everywhere across the cold stone floor. Semyon instantly seizes this golden opportunity. With his heart absolutely pounding, he drops to his knees, pretending to help gather the documents, but really, he's scanning every single word as fast as humanly possible.
And he spots it. The undeniable smoking gun. Printed on a formal document right there in front of him are the words Coordination Agreement Supplier Pricing. It is the exact physical proof of the illegal bid rigging extortion scheme. But right at this triumphant moment, Semyon makes a fatal, completely amateur mistake. He looks up. He meets Lavrov's cold eyes. And in that one brief, terrifying exchange of glances, Semyon lets the ruthless criminal know that he's been completely found out.
Section 5. Fiction versus reality. Let's see how this all builds to its inevitable, very messy conclusion. Because instead of a heroic arrest by the local constabulary, Semyon's bold discovery triggers a dangerous, far-reaching fallout that a cozy paperback novel would just never dare to print.
0. When Semyon is officially summoned by Captain Sokolov of the Provincial Investigating Commission, this is exactly how many pieces of concrete evidence he actually brings with him. None. Sure, he saw the vital document with his own eyes, but he doesn't physically have it. He learns the incredibly hard way that brilliant deductions in a pocket notebook full of accurate hypotheses mean absolutely squat in a rigorous court of law. In fact, without tangible proof, the stern commission warned Semyon that he is the one who could be ruined for slander.
Which brings us to the harsh, unfiltered reality of Bolshino. A well-connected local widow, Yelena Markovna, sits Semyon down and completely shatters his worldview. She explains that this high-profile investigation, it's not about moral justice at all. She reveals that the powerful elites are simply using the public scandal as a convenient excuse to wipe out rival political factions and comfortably maintain their own lucrative status quo.
And that brings us to this crucial concept, political expediency, essentially prosecuting crimes based on political usefulness rather than moral necessity. In a super dark, deeply cynical real-world twist, Lavrov is never arrested or put on trial. Instead, he dies suddenly of a highly mysterious illness, effectively assassinated by his own corrupt, sprawling network. Why? Because Semyon's amateur snooping made Lavrov a massive political liability. Realizing that his noble pursuit of justice only caused more death and danger, a totally defeated Semyon quietly burns his investigation notebooks in his fireplace.
So, we leave you with this final, provocative thought. These messy fragments of real-life truth really force us to ask, if the truth objectively exists, but it literally cannot be legally proven in court or safely spoken aloud, did the detective actually solve the mystery? Or does perfect, satisfying justice only truly exist on the printed page? It's a fascinating look at the severe limits of observation and a stark reminder that reality rarely ties up its loose ends. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep questioning the narratives around you.